Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to the channel RPG with DBJ, where we are going to talk all week long about WandaVision and what we can use and how we can use it for our tabletop RPG content. Yes, for those who do not know, WandaVision has aired here in the States on the Disney Plus streaming service. And of course, it had all kinds of, it got our brains working, a little bit of controversy, and a whole lot of shenanigans were going on. We got the deep dive into our own nerdy wellspring of all the information we have about Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, and the Vision. Hey there, Omen. Hello, everyone. For those who do not know, this show is the only show, TriCast, on the interwebs, on Twitch, YouTube, and into our own Discord server. Just join the Discord by going to the doobly-doo below and go to the boiler room, because that's, of course, where all the cool kids hang out. Now that that's out the way, each day, the normal process on this channel is we take a subject and we talk about it all week long. Like, it is, this show is literally us sitting down before or after a role-playing session, and man, we're just hashing it out. We're having fun. We're coming up with ideas, and essentially just ideas you can steal. But we do it long form, all week long. Monster Monday was yesterday, and today is Trope Tuesday. Now we're going to do, got a little squirrely squirrel yesterday. So we will be talking quite a bit more about our some adversaries we can use, and definitely, absolutely, positively, definitely talking about sitcom tropes, because today is Trope Tuesday. And this is the time when we get to talk about tropes, archetypes, stereotypes, and such, and how we can use them in the game, because really, tropes are shorthand for things, right? And the great thing about using shorthand in tabletop role-playing games is you get the most benefit for the least amount of explanation. Okay. And why that's a great thing is because if you want to lean into the trope, it's very easy, right? Like, I'm going to pull this trope out out of my rear end, but I'm going to say, since we're talking about WandaVision, and for those, of course, who do not know, the first 2.5 episodes really absolutely leaned exceedingly heavy into the sitcom trope. As a matter of fact, the first 2 episodes, except for a slight deviation in the airing of the show, was aired in black and white. And some people were scratching their heads like, this is a show about like a witch and a robot, and what the heck's going on? And but for me, the surreal nature of it, I loved it. I absolutely fell into it. And for example, one trope could be the zany best friend. And the zany best friend is easy to describe, easy to describe to all the participants that you have maybe in your game. And as a matter of fact, even in a television show, they make references to themselves of the tropish nature of what they're watching. And so part of it's kind of funny and cool, and maybe in your role-playing game to embrace that. If your role-playing sessions are very heavy-handed and in terms of emotional content, horror has a lot to do with that. There are like Game of Thrones type things. Maybe you might want to have an individual thrown in, or a couple of NPCs that are the comic relief, just to break the tension a little bit. And even if they refer to themselves in a tropish kind of way, it might be kind of funny. All right, so of course, for those who are new to the channel, because we do this live and we have a live stream, I always interact live with everybody who's here. So let's get into the chat. Omen says, I want to say that I want to steal DBJ's idea about reality warpers fighting for my own Mutants and Masterminds game and fan fiction. It's a little hard to steal something if I'm giving it away for free, but I'll turn my back. It goes on to say, speaking of Monster Monday, I should have said this yesterday, but I'm doing a video about the manga Junji Itsu's Uzumaki, a story with uncontrollable similarities with WandaVision. Okay, all right. Now, there are some commonalities when it comes to sitcoms in English language TV, as it's described here on tvtropes.org. And I have to agree with that. Now, mind you, I haven't seen too many non-English language sitcoms, but I'm sure they are exceedingly similar. And let's go through a couple of them, and some of the funny parts, especially when it comes to like creating NPCs. But there are some sitcom stands for situational comedies, and so a large staple of sitcoms is placing our characters, and we kind of know their behaviors, into bizarre situations, and they have to figure their way out of it. And so for example, here the sitcom is a staple of English language TV, so much so that it has a distinctive body of tropes associated with it. Subgenres can be found on the sitcom page itself, and also see episodes for other tropes that can happen in sitcoms. And so there are a number of, for example, in sitcoms, there's stock characters, and of course, there's a huge list of them. But as an example, there's the 24-hour party people. There's the annoying young sibling, bumbling dad, the drop-in character. Usually, a drop-in character is someone who is relatively famous, and they just happen to knock on the door or open up the door and show up that day for eh, hilarity reasons. There's the drop-in landlord, uh, the dumbass teenage son, of course, the dysfunctional family. The whole family where none of them seem to get along for any particular reason. Obnoxious in-laws, the pointy-haired boss. Not exactly sure why they said pointy-haired, but it's the constantly angry pointy haired, like they're grabbing their hair and like, oh, George, did you do this again? It's always something like that. There's also the sitcom arch nemesis, usually a person that lives next door, or a coworker that the main character has a. They're always at each other's throats. Usually, when there's young people, there's always like the bully, the social bully or something. Of course, there's I joked before we got on air. There's the token black friend and the token white. I didn't write this down. That's what it says. There's the ugly guy, hot wife idea, the weaselly coworker, and such. So, a lot of those tropes are pretty funny. Yep. Oh hell yeah. Dead man says like the boss in the Dilbert comics. Oh yes, the boss in the Dilbert comics. The pointy haired boss is a huge trope. Hey lurker, what's going on there? Oh man. Rickard's like, what? You propose we add a laugh track to our games? You know what? I was going to suggest that too. Honestly, or if would it make sense to add a laugh track to a game? Maybe, maybe. It depends on how surreal you want to get, or how much of in reality you want to get. So maybe, just maybe, because what was it? Yesterday, TA, Mr. Anderson was talking about like maybe a corporation or a faction or something has a drug or an implant or something that allows you, that it's not a dream world, but it creates something that is real. Tesla Ranger's like a whole soundboard. Boom, 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 boom. That'd be kind of funny. Oh man. Let's see. Omen says, although Uzumaki is horror, it starts out about a small town life in Japan, but it later becomes reality bending horror. The protagonist turning into a snail is an example. And one of the tropes of horror that you can play with when it comes to sitcoms, especially in sitcoms and comedy and things like that, is horror, the dichotomy of something funny and innocent and humorous mixed with horror. which is why it young follow me on this, young girls with a rag doll and like dirty, splashed with blood, looking skeletal in a dark alley with a rusty, bloody knife. Like it's the confluence of those two things. So could you imagine the player characters needing to remain in the sitcom genre, knowing that if they break it, it becomes a horror show? And WandaVision really, those first like 4 or 5 episodes really leaned into that, where you had your main character, not main characters, I'm sorry, you had your supporting cast like having those uncomfortably perfect smiles on their face as if they were struggling to keep it on their faces because Wanda might say or do something and that making a reaction off of something they didn't want. And there's even periods of time in the television show where the characters are like, do you want to do that over again? You sure, Wanda? Are you sure? And I think that'd be awesome for the player characters to arrive somewhere. And at first they're like, oh wow, everybody's happy and friendly and kind of zany. And then you realize like there's sweat pouring down their face and stuff because there's some weird laugh track and clapping around, and you're like, what is that? And there could be who knows? It could be if you're talking fantasies, it could be spirits or the gods or something in a modern to sci-fi setting. It could be a like a holodeck kind of idea or a virtual reality or something. Yeah, Tesla puts in the into the Discord. Tesla Ranger says while the Peter principle states that all managers, excuse me, while the Peter principle states that all managers are incompetent by definition, the Dilbert principle claims that the most incompetent and irrational workers will be kicked upstairs where they can no longer disturb the productive flow. At least in theory, this is the origin of the pointy-haired boss. I didn't know that. I do know that in the Dilbert comics, there's always the pointy-haired boss. You know, losing a little bit of the hair in the middle. The sides are always pointed out and whatnot. Yeah, the Dilbert principle. I always where it says kicked upstairs where they can no longer disturb the productive flow. I think it's even been worded as the safest place for the most incompetent people to keep them from doing the most harm to society. It's middle management. Yeah. The perfect place for them to be ignored. Yeah, hilarious. Yeah, oh man. Yep, like Omen says, it must be because they're always frustrated. Of course. Of course. Omen says, although I don't think Wanda's entirely malevolent, there is that. I think she's just overtaken by grief. Losing people you love can push you to do bad stuff. And that's why I said, the people who watch that show were like, is she a bad guy? Is she a good guy? Is she? And the answer is yes. When people are overcome with grief and loss, they they do things. We all do things to alleviate the pain. Some of us take illicit chemicals, right? Alcohol, drugs. We try to do things to get away from it. Sometimes we say and do things that we might regret later to family and friends because we're suffering such hardships. Other times we roll into ourselves and we don't want to be bothered with other people. Leave me alone. I just need to work through this. Sometimes we put on a strong we put on a mask to cover up the pain and walk out of it like, oh, I'm smiley, let me get back to work. Hell, that's a trope. That's a television trope far beyond sitcoms. I just need to get back to work. Are you sure? Leave me alone. Why do you keep asking me? you know, how many times have we seen that trope? But here are some other things, other sitcom tropes I thought we could talk about in terms of like plots. Like, of course, there's the sitcom settings, like the couch, the Pottery Barn pour, the standardized sitcom housing, with the stairs in the background and such. But there's also something else here with sitcom plots, like the simple plan, a broken treasure, can't get away with nothing, caught coming home late, the dead pet sketch, dinner with the boss, which was one used in that first episode of WandaVision, the doomed autographed item, the escalating war, George Jetson job security, or forgot to pay the bill, or just one extra ticket. And if you, the reason why I'm reading these out is because I know all of you out there can attest to some of the names of these plot points that happen in sitcoms, right? Like where um like let's go with the George Jetson job security, okay? Cartoon George Jetson. This cartoon was absolutely a sitcom, had the dysfunctional family and such. And one of the things in the sitcom is always the employee that it doesn't really matter how efficient they are, they're always picked to do something at the job, and if they don't do it correctly or on time or appropriately, they'll get fired. you know and the boss is always like, hey, I need you to do the thing when the thing happens, and I need it 8 minutes ago. And of course the person's like, how am I going to get this done? I have other obligations. And then of course there's hilarity ensues as they run around trying to figure it out. And one of the great things that you might want to do in the role-playing game is like a the B plot of the player characters, right? The A plot is the player characters like beating ass. You know, open up the can of whoop ass, go, let's go beat ass, right? Player characters do that, but the B plot might be them needing to maybe they have responsibilities in a certain town or a city, or they have to take care of in-laws or a loved one, or a relative or a best friend. Maybe someone is sick, or there is there's the hey, I've got to leave, but make sure you don't damage anything in the house. There's some sensitive stuff here. And then of course a small pet runs around the house knocking things over. Maybe a window opens up and the wind blows and gets ready to knock over the expensive vase. Maybe the 24-hour partier comes over and is like, yeah, you got the house to yourself, and et cetera, et cetera. We get to play with those tropes, and nothing wrong with that. Pointy-haired boss has his own wiki page. Thank you, Dead Man. The pointy-haired boss, or pointy-headed boss, often abbreviated to just PHB, Player's Handbook, is Dilbert's pointy-haired boss is Dilbert's boss in the Dilbert comic strip. He is notable for his micromanagement, gross incompetence, obliviousness to his surroundings, and unhelpful buzzword usage, yet somehow retains power in the workplace. In the Dilbert TV series, yeah, that's hilarious. And hey, you know what? The pointy-haired boss makes a pretty good bad guy. I mean, imagine like the middle management bad guy that's just like Hayward in WandaVision, where they're easy to defeat, but you just can't get rid of them because they're like gum on the bottom of your shoe. Every time you try to peel them off and try to get away from this person, they just keep showing back up again, doing something. Yeah, Rickard said fired every week and get back before the next episode. Yeah. Constantly getting fired and rehired. As if that's how it works. Oh man, Rickard says, okay, definitely sold on the soundboard for my comedy game when I get to run it. The soundboard, yeah, get a bunch of wahs and such, and claps and cheers from the audience. The yay and such, and the ooh part. Oh man, I guarantee you there's soundboards that have all those classic sitcom sounds in it. And imagine the player characters getting to a place. I don't know how they get to the place. Hell, it could be a starship, or they just happen to go to a small town. And there we go. Dead Man puts in the voicemod.net soundboard for online games and chat apps. I thought about doing that, adding in like a soundboard to the show and such, but I would have to. One of these days, I might do that. I might even try to do something by putting something on the television in the back. That's why I stopped using my screen. New camera, wide angle, whatever. That's behind the scenes stuff, but yeah. Oh yeah. Mufas says, don't forget the Wilhelm screams. For those who do not know, there is a long-standing tradition in television and movie broadcast of, when able, inserting the Wilhelm screams. And the Wilhelm screams it's literally way back in the day, and I don't know the origin. One of you guys, please find the origin of the Wilhelm screams, the dates and whatnot. But anyway, the Wilhelm screams, as a tradition, that the people who control the sound and the ADR and whatnot will throw in the Wilhelm screams into their movies and television shows. And it's so common now that even the producers of television shows are like, they understand that the sound editors will throw a Wilhelm scream in. And of course, back in the day, whenever you need sound effects, they used to really make sound effects and record them. And they would bring people in, and some of these famous people, not famous people, the people who created the sounds would come in and cry, laugh, scream, guffaw, all that kind of stuff. And the Wilhelm scream is one of them. The Wilhelm scream is a stock sound effect that has been used in a number of films and TV series beginning in 1951 with the film Distant Drums. The scream is usually used when someone is shot, falls from a great height. Ooh, ooh, no, don't move. Ooh. Sorry, I just shifted a little bit. Falls from a great height or is thrown from an explosion. The sound is named after Private Wilhelm, a character in the Charge at Feather River, a 1953 probably movie. Yeah, I don't. Oh, I don't know if it won't play for me, but I would have to. I would have to. I wonder if I could stick this into the. Will it let me do it? Will it let me do it? No. Mm-mm-mm. Let's see if it will let me place it here. No, won't let me do it. Sorry. I was going to see if I tried to grab it. I'm going to have to download it and stuff and throw it to my streaming service. But yeah, hilarious. And I think it would be funny to have a creepy, if you want to do more horror, a creepy soundtrack, a soundboard, as the player characters navigate their way around something, like as if they're trying to entertain powerful people. I bring up the comic book series, a little bit forgotten, but very good at its time, was the Longshot series, the introduction of Longshot. In Marvel Comics, there was a character named Longshot who, blonde hair, had luck powers, wore a skin tight black jumpsuit, and came from a world where they were slaves, and they were the ugly people, even though they all looked beautiful. And they were in these movies for Mojo and the Mojo verse, where to entertain the population. And how creepy would it be to have like strange monsters or demons or fiends or abominations from the outer worlds, just like tentacle clapping while the player characters try to do things. And every what would be very strange is players could move from place to place, but there's still a studio audience. Like the audience doesn't move, but they can still navigate the world, which would be very strange and surreal to always look out beyond, like as if they're on a stage. So the stage is infinite. They can move anywhere they want. They can jump into the ocean and climb up on a rooftop, but there's still a studio audience a particular distance away, like looking at them and clapping and booing and thumbs downing them. And that might be more performance related rather than them succeeding in the adventure. Like, oh, they don't care if you beat ass, but they just want you to do it with a smile on your face or something. That'd be awesome. Legally Blind Lurker says, just use the supervillain who has super scream abilities and super jump abilities, who was named Wilhelm. Yeah, that's awesome. And what a great aside for a character like that. Like, why are you Wilhelm? And everyone's like, really, really? Yeah, the Wilhelm scream is pretty. It's hilarious when you hear it, but the real skill is trying to hear it in other things, because they will throw it in there. Any action series, like they said, someone that falls, there's an explosion or what have you. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh man. Kylie Poe says the computer from Paranoia could absolutely have a soundboard, punishing or rewarding the PCs for eliciting the correct reactions per scene or the role they're forced into. Oh yeah, and what? Listen, it is embarrassing to, that of course the wah 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 and all that kind of stuff is embarrassing, but it could really be pretty funny given how given the dichotomy with what the player characters are doing. Like if there's a scene in a movie known as The Natural Born Killers, and there's a scene acted out. I think it's even filmed in black and white, with the young lady that's the main character at home with her sexually abusive dad, and they're having a fight, and then I believe the two main characters kill the dad and the family or something. It's pretty nasty, bloody, and violent. It's all adult language, and there's a laugh track behind it, like as if it's a sitcom. And I just think it would be funny to have and creepy to have like a laugh track and soundtrack and the boo bop sounds and the ooh oohs, all that kind of stuff, comedic sounds while people are getting murdered in the background and tortured and stuff. I don't know. I'm embracing it. I didn't think we would go this direction, mindset, but I'm embracing it a lot. Yeah. Yeah, Mufa says Boba Fett in the original Star Wars movie does a Wilhelm scream as he falls into the Sarlacc pit. Yes, Mufa, you are so right. And I think most of us agree that that was probably the worst placement for that Wilhelm scream. But the Wilhelm scream was used in that scene. Absolutely, they might have ADR'd it a little bit. I think they might have deepened it or extended it or whatever. I mean, every creator massages it, but they try to throw it in there when they can. And I bet that was literally a shout out to the Wilhelm scream for that purpose, which, you know, I don't know. Terrible use of that at that moment, but hell yeah. And like Rickard says, there's a Wilhelm scream used once in every Star Wars movie. Yeah, I would say yeah. I have to say yeah. I could see that. I don't know this for a fact. I'm thinking Quentin Tarantino probably does something like that because he's a big classic Hollywood type person. I feel like he was somebody that would try to do that. Yeah. Yeah, can't like Rickard. I agree with Rickard. Like says same here. Can't remember the others off the top of my head. Boba Fett is the only one I can remember, and it was super. It was a little too hideously obvious. I felt like they could, if I were to slip it in, I would slip it in with some of the no named, you know, guards or something like that. I didn't think Boba Fett needed it for that purpose. Yep, like Rickard says, the Wilhelm scream has become almost a filmmaker meme. Yep, yep, and made more obvious with the remake. Yeah, yeah. Oh well. All right, so back into the sitcom plots. There's things like the zany scheme, or your door was open, or very special episode, which if you take a look at WandaVision, all the titles of each of the episodes of WandaVision had a name from sitcom TV tropes, like a very special episode was one. Office Sports is another one. This, of course, the stock sitcom grand finale, the soul crushing desk job, the 1 hour work week, and such. And so I think something like I don't know, off the top of my head, like the player characters must care for a special chicken, or what's another one? Please watch my niece. Make sure she doesn't get into trouble. And she seems innocent till the parents go away, and then of course the niece turns into maybe in role playing games, maybe a literal demon, a hellion out there to become like a little demon spawn, causing trouble whenever, wherever, and whenever they go or something. And it's like, oh, I need you to. The boss's daughter is a big one. I need you to watch the boss is like, I need you to watch my relative, a niece or nephew or a young whatever. And the person's like, sure, I'll do that. And of course, the boss goes away, and this person turns out to be, a PK, a preacher's kid, where they just turn into completely evil. Rickard Johansson says the Halloween episode. Yep, there's always every sitcom has an episode that deals with a pretty significant holiday, whether it's here in the States, it's Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then usually one or two other holidays in there. Usually there's a birthday episode, possibly there's an anniversary episode with someone, and there's a little bit of a shenanigans going on. So yeah, oh, absolutely. Legally Blind Lurker says, have something like the whammy from Press Your Luck, but pops up like the Great Gazoo and the Flintstones. Yeah, no whammies, no whammies. Sitcoms and game shows kind of run together in that concept as well. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. Oh, Dead Man. Yeah, there's there's something with the Simpsons. I'm looking over here at the. I can't find it. It's in order to. Oh, is Where the Hell is Springfield? Trope. Like, where is that? It doesn't exist. It does not exist. There's some other tropes here, like where it is a side glance, everybody laughs ending, the golden moment, the Seinfeldian conversation, the two lines, no waiting, and that's I don't know how that would work in a role playing game, but I sure would throw it in there. Um, the the Seinfeldian conversation. Okay, so in and this was done in WandaVision as well, where and most the comedy show I can think of that does this a lot is Modern Family, where where the main characters are all doing something, right? They're going about the shenanigans, and then we break away to have them speak directly to the camera in another room, another situation to explain what's going on and how they feel about what's going on. And then they return back to the action. And it's hilarious because the Vision is in a funnel cake truck, and they get stopped, and then you see him on the side of the road in one of the director's chairs with his legs crossed talking to the camera, and then he's like, what the hell am I doing? And then he has to get up and leave because that would be pretty hilarious if like the player characters are like, they're like, oh no, we're fighting trolls, ching 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 ching, and then there's a pause on the side where one of the player characters is like, yeah, you know, I tried my Eldritch Blast, and you would think, Warlock, Eldritch Blast, what's the big deal? But then, no, terrible. And then you go back to fighting the trolls, and then he's like, the Warlock's like, Eldritch Blast, and everyone's like, no, don't do that. And then the wall explodes, and maybe the cavern fills with water or something like that. And then you flash back to the Warlock with their legs folded, like, yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that again. Maybe maybe I'm going to buy some donuts for my friends or something silly. I don't know. Mm-mm-mm. Death Angel's Shadow. Mm-mm-mm. Sure it does. It borders 4 states. Not sure where that's coming from there, Death Angel's Shadow, but I love the name. Kylie Post says, the worst one, the Past Clips episode. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's often when the main actors have to have like a holiday. Oh, The Simpsons. Yeah, wah wah. That's for me. Yeah, the Springfield borders 4 states. How does it border 4 states? It's got to be in one of them. Uh, Bad product placement spots. Yeah, the Past Clips episode where they're like, let's only bring in like 2 of the actors to talk about, or even hell, just one of the actors to introduce past clips because they have to give everybody vacation for some reason, but they still need to air the show, and you're just like rolling your eyes at things. Kylie says the never seen, heard, or understood character, like the cheer, like in Cheers, Norm's wife. Yep. Tim the Toolman's neighbor, South Park's Kenny, and Snuffleupagus. Yep. There's a there. Oh, there's a comedy show. Ooh, the unseen person, like for example, you may have a like Norm's wife. There are numbers of sitcoms where someone has a like a relative or loved one or something, and they're constantly like WandaVision talking about Ralph, where you never see the person but you always know that they're around. And Tim the Toolman's neighbor, who of course was I believe there were different actors that played Tim's neighbor who looked over the fence, but you only saw Tim. Was it Wilson? Man, it's that's going back. But anyway, Wilson, I'm going to say it's Wilson because I really don't remember. Looks over the fence and, of course, has to give like little bits of information and such. And remember, in sitcoms, there is that golden moment idea where something happens in the show. They're trying to send a message, and usually it's a message of caring or love or trying to wrap up the situation because it is a situational comedy. Wrap up the situation in a nice little bow, and then there's the oh, and usually it might even be followed with some music too. But there might even be some angelic styled music. But usually it's like oh, where the people come together and they realize that despite the fact that they've been having all this difficulty, the parents are like, oh, it was okay that you broke the vase. We only purchased it for $10. And then of course the kids are like, man, shoot, we tried to fix it and glue it back together and go to a secondhand store shop and buy a new one and blah blah blah. That kind of thing. Like the dead pet episode where someone's dead cat or bird or whatever, and everyone's like, we need to replace it by going to a pet shop and getting another one. And then of course hilarity ensues by trying to get it back home and it doesn't act the same and blah blah blah. Right? Yeah. Xanathar's goldfish. Yep. Could you imagine? Could you? What a great comedy of errors that would be. That someone, Xanathar. For those who don't know, Xanathar is a beholder that runs a criminal organization. Doesn't matter. So Xanathar loses the goldfish, and everyone is trying to run around like all these like really powerful criminal elements are running around to do nothing but get a goldfish back to Xanathar before Xanathar like really gets pissed. Like the goldfish is dead. Wizards are like, I'll make an illusion of a goldfish. No, 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 no. Because his eye is going to look at it. It'll disappear. That's right. Ooh, maybe we get a druid to turn into a goldfish. I don't know who's gonna volunteer for that. And all the druids are like, I don't see what's going on. La la la. I'm not here. uh, Tesla says no. Wilson was just one actor, Earl Hindman. I could have sworn it was more than one person. I didn't realize that. That's my own my own headcanon. Or Earl Hindman. Okay, cool. Dead Man says Tim's neighbor was named Dr. Wilson Jr. How convenient. Legally Blind says it was Wilson, always played by the same actor, but because he was on another show, they could never show his full face. Some deal between the studios that he could be on the show, on the show, but that scene. Oh, I think you're saying like being on the show behind, basically behind that fence and without showing his face and such. Yeah, and a lot of people did that. What was it? This isn't a comedy. Well, a little bit of a comedy show, Charlie's Angels, where you had Charlie, who was never seen and was only a voice, and they would have David Hasselhoff's Knight Rider. There was a person that played the voice, and of course, if we turn this all the way back to WandaVision, Jarvis was the voice inside of Tony Stark's Iron Man suit. And then, of course, that person becomes, it morphs into that actor becoming the Vision. And what a strange career that has to have been to be hired to do some voice work, some deadpan voice work, or a little bit of sarcastic voice work, and then all of a sudden you're just like, hey, would you like to be in this show? And like, body makeup, I guess that'd be awesome, I suppose. And so on and so forth. Oh man, Deadman says his usual greetings are well, Heidi ho, or hi ho there, neighbor, or good neighbor when greeting Tim, neighborette when greeting Jill, and Taylor lad or lads when greeting the Taylor boys. Ah, a one of the great things that, thank you very much for putting that in there, Dead Man. One of the great things about using sitcom tropes for like NPCs is to give them a, like, I'm going to call it like a call sign, a phrase or term of endearment, or a an intonation that the character does all the time to separate them from everybody else. Like the, well, Heidi ho there, neighbor, where and the player characters know, and you as the dungeon master remember, get into the mindset of this NPC. So you don't have to remember the exact voice or accent or what have you. But if the NPC always takes their hat off and nervously, puts their hands and rolls the edge of their hat, or the character always shows up and does a big flourish where they they bow down, and when they come to the PCs, or maybe they always run up behind one of the PCs and gives them a big old hug. Like maybe they have one to three things that he always do every time they first are introduced to the player characters, and when the player characters roll around to that NPC again, when it becomes a normal thing, even if it's annoying, it can be a running gag, a joke, and a very easy way to go click right. Ah, okay, I remember this NPC. Because as a dungeon master, it's so easy to lose track of them all, and the player characters might even be expecting it, or especially if a player character is like, I'm gonna, my barbarian is gonna like hold himself still, waiting for the big, hug by the 8-year-old that always comes up and hugs my, barbarian half orc or something like that, right? And then as a DM, you're like, oh, that's right, she does that all the time, you know, something like that. Oh man, Legally Blind Lurker says still hard to believe that he played the Bard in the NHL. Really? Mm-mm-mm. The audience, oh, Deadman says the audience finally sees Earl Hindman's full face unobscured in the series finale's curtain call. Oh, yeah, series finale shows often, and many times, as there are some sitcoms that literally break the fourth wall, and they bring all of the actors out to bow to the audience to say goodbye. That now in modern day, they usually write a specific episode to say goodbye to everyone. But in the old days, there really was a curtain call. Like people, the staff members from that were behind the scenes for sound and lighting and stuff. Many times they would bring them out onto the stage and say goodbye, and they would do an actual bow and say goodbye and wave goodbye to everybody when those series would end. Now, mind you, this is back in the day when the mid 20s, having a number of episodes in the mid 20s was a common thing. So when your show, when it went 2, 3, 4, 12 seasons at 20 plus episodes per season, that's a pretty damn long time. So we as viewers often forgave that. Today, our attention span and money has a lot to do with that, shortening the seasons down to between 8 to 13 in general. Sometimes overseas, here from the States, you there are series that have like 6 episodes a series or something, 4 to 6. But yeah, back in the day, it was 20 plus. Okay. Kylie says the misunderstanding trope in every single Three's Company could make for some interesting, unexpected plot twists. Oh, the misunderstanding trope. Yeah, the overhearing something, or someone taking something too seriously, or the misunderstanding surprise, like the first episode of WandaVision. Oh, it's the special day on the calendar. What is it? Oh, I know what it is. And they're like, I don't know what it is. What am I supposed to do? you know? Um, yeah, Three's Company. Oh my goodness. Doo 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 doo. The even the the misunderstanding trope of Three's Company, the meaning like they had to hide that, of course, John Ritter's character wasn't gay, but in the show, the idea was that he wasn't supposed to live with these girls, except he had to pretend he was, and so there's the nosy landlord, right? it's the nosy neighbor slash landlord, and you gotta hide things, or there's the taking the shower and someone stole your clothes and the person's running around with a towel and you've got to get back to their clothing and they get locked outside and stuff like, yeah, it's the whole nine yards. Gaster Two Soul says, okay, you guys can hate me on this, but I have not actually seen WandaVision, but hey, it seems cool. I just haven't fully committed myself to the binging yet. Ooh, damn it, don't tune in. It says spoil. Where does it say spoil? There it is. Right there. Spoiler alert. Don't hurt yourself. Oh man. All right. Here we go. In the oh man, before we get out of here, Tesla Ranger puts in some directors, notably Quentin Tarantino, Peter Jackson, and George Lucas, make a point of using the Wilhelm in all their action movies. Almost every Star Wars film has a Wilhelm, as George Lucas was quite fond of it. In fact, pretty much every single one had it at least once until 2016 from Rogue One onward, when Lucasfilm retired the Wilhelm as an overused running gag and replaced it with a different stock scream, as yet unidentified. I'm surprised they would unidentify it. In A New Hope, it comes from a falling stormtrooper during the escape from the Death Star. It should come from a stormtrooper, yeah. The Empire Strikes Back has several, but only one made it to all versions. A stormtrooper in the carbonite chamber. I did not know that. A stormtrooper gives a Wilhelm after opening a door and getting grabbed by a Wampa, but that's a deleted scene. In Return of the Jedi, one of Jabba's skiff guards does a Wilhelm after getting knocked into the Sarlacc pit. They should have only done that once. Whatever. This instance is probably the most famous, and it's particularly obnoxious, and by then people knew to look for it. Phantom Menace, it comes from a soldier in a Naboo hangar. Attack of the Clones, it comes from someone falling off the Coruscant landing platform. Yep. In Revenge of the Sith, it comes from a clone trooper whose ship-to-ship gun explodes on him. I don't remember that. It might have been covered by the sound of the explosion, too. In The Force Awakens, it comes from a stormtrooper who gets knocked away by a blast during Poe and Finn's escape in the beginning. This is the last mainstream use of the Wilhelm in the Star Wars films. The Star Wars Holiday Special. Yeah. Yeah, Gaster's like, all right, tuning out there. That's good. Yeah, you're fine. I don't want to ruin that for anybody that hasn't been part of it. But great series, by the way, Gaster. I know you're not here, but if anybody catches it or hasn't seen it yet, go watch it if you can. Of course, you got to pay for it or borrow a password from someone. Rickard says, yeah, in Bard, in A Knight's Tale, also starts in the Priest movie and is in the movie Legion. Oh, yeah. Why is the actor that plays Vision's name leaving me? Wow. Yes, he was in Legion, plays an angel in Legion, as a matter of fact. And I liked the world building in the movie Priest. It wasn't the best movie in the world, but I like that. I think it was a graphic novel too, if I'm not mistaken. But also one of the great things about using like tropes, whether it's like sitcom tropes specifically, is you can do a one-off. They're easy to do. Everyone recognizes them. You guys are already, while I'm sitting here, my mind is reeling and I'm, going over the three chat boards and all that kind of stuff. I know you guys are like, oh, and what about this one? And what about this one? And what about that one? And the great thing about it is it's very easy. most sitcom tropes are throwaways. You can throw them in and get rid of them very, very easily. And most sitcom NPCs are readily identifiable and easy to insert. I mean, what if for some reason, there's an NPC that looks over the fence whenever the PCs come by, and the PCs never see this person's face, and no one questions it. And maybe they're a contact by the rogue. The rogue's like, I need some information. And all of a sudden, poking over the fence is the same person that's like, great. Okay, listen, the wizard normally is out by high noon when the sun reaches its highest point. You can sneak in then. And the rogue is like, thanks for the info. I'll see you later. All right, dude, bye. And leaves. And then, I mean, that could just be a running gag. Lean into it a little bit if you want to, especially if you have a very serious tone to your games. Maybe lean into a little bit of things just to break the monotony and break the tension as well. Maybe you guys run games that are like mostly beer and pretzel, having fun. Don't take it. The meta part of it outside the game isn't taken seriously, even if the characters in it do take it serious. Just lean into it, have some fun with it. Have a couple of laughs. Not a big deal. I mean, I think the sitcoms are especially the type of thing that is easy to throw in, very readily identifiable. And sure, could you transfer one of these simple, idiotic NPCs or situations into something more real and more substantial? That's also a possibility as well. I mean, maybe you are trying to throw something in there that's silly, and through the comedy of errors by trying to watch the boss's daughter, who's just a big old hellion, you end up are like, maybe it would be kind of cool if they were really a real fiend or something, and the parents don't know or whatnot, and maybe that turns into a real story. So anyway, guys, tomorrow's World Building Wednesday. We're going to have a little bit of fun with that. But anyway, thank you very much for stopping by. Please, like, share, subscribe, spread the news of the channel, and all that good stuff. But anyway, guys, have a great one. And you know what? Like I always say, I got to head off to work. You guys, man, work those dice. Have a great one. I'll see you later. Bye.